Have you ever struggled with how to make the popular African print maxi dress? Or have seen so many YouTube tutorials but ended up more confused than you were in the beginning? Yeah, me too. I'm going to share a detailed sew-along on how you can make this maxi dress for yourself using a sewing pattern, the Ankara Cami Maxi dress that I created. If you stumbled across this video and you're wondering, sewing pattern, where do I get this from? I will leave all the information on where you can get this pattern in the description box. And again, it is called the Ankara Cami Maxi dress pattern. Now, before we get into this sew along, I created this pattern as a template, which I believe all sewing patterns should really be approached as. Patterns are not puzzles to perfection, but templates to progress. So if you are advanced in your sewing, please feel free to adjust and hack and just modify the pattern in a way that you will be able to successfully complete this. If you are an advanced beginner, because this pattern is created for advanced beginners, I would suggest that you please sew along with me, get comfortable with sewing the pattern, and then you can figure out how you can tweak the pattern to your liking. The pattern is created to make a cami top, it is created to make a midi dress, and it is created to make the featured maxi dress. The sew along that we will be doing is for the maxi dress because I feel like the cami and the midi dress are straightforward, but the secret with the maxi dress, and especially that it is a seamless front, is that we will be joining fabric together. So now that the secret is out, the main reason for this is because Ankara fabric or African print fabric mostly comes in the width of about 45 inches. And so we have to increase that side by joining two pieces of fabric. Now, I suggest about, if you're going to make the maxi dress, I suggest about 4.5 yards to about 6 yards, usually comes to 6 yards. And that will, I think that will cover, the pattern size goes up to 3X. So that should cover a 3X size. So that is all the information that you need to get ready for the sew along. If there is anything that I missed out, it will definitely be there in the instruction booklet that comes with your pattern. All right, so let's get into this sew along. So the first step is to get our fabric ready. Now, I mentioned that you will need about 4.5 yards to about 6 yards of fabric. And our little secret is that our fabric is not long enough to get the seamless front Ankara maxi dress that we want. And so we will have to add fabric to the side. So I'm just measuring and showing you that the fabric is 45 inches. And we want it to be double that amount. Go ahead and open up your fabric, bringing it to its full length, and then you will fold that in half. So if you have 6 yards of fabric, fold the 6 yards into 3 yards. Now this works on busy prints because the line that we sew up can be masked. So what I'm doing here is just aligning prints that are similar. And so when we sew it up, it won't show as much. So find a spot where the prints align and then you can pin those down together. And it's okay if your fabric is not evenly folded. Sometimes I'll be like an inch off, that's fine. Once your fabric is pinned, this is what it should look like. You can go ahead and cut the fold of your fabric so it makes it easier for you to work with, especially after you sew your pinned area together. Once that's done, go ahead and sew down your 2 pieces. So once you're finished sewing your fabric together, this is what it should look like. And you can go ahead and just press that down so it can have a seamless, nice, seamless, clean finish. Now, because of the amount of fabric we will be working with, I will be showing you on this piece of paper. So the center part is what we just sewed together. So imagine this is what your fabric now looks like. Take one point of your fabric and fold it in so that it touches the other side of the fabric and kind of forms a triangle. Take the other point of your fabric and fold that part in as I am showing. The bottom part of your fabric is the excess fabric, and it really doesn't matter whether you fold it in or out as long as you have that even triangle with the excess at the bottom. So here I am just comparing what I folded on the paper to what I folded on my fabric, and it should look exactly the same. Just scale down. And that's how you fold your fabric ready to work with the pattern. This is how our pattern will be placed on our folded fabric. You will place the fold part of the pattern on the folded edges of your fabric. So here I'm placing my actual pattern on the fabric, and the 2 points that I just showed should be touching the points of your triangle on the fabric. Now, depending on the size that you selected, you will either bring the pattern up higher on the triangle or bring it lower so that you can have enough room for your points to touch those 2 parts. Feel free to adjust the length because this measures from the bust top to the floor about 58 inches. And I did that to kind of accommodate for all my tall friends. So you can shorten that if you like. Go ahead and cut out your pattern. Now, if you've been paying attention, the fold of the fabric gave us 2 pieces. And so for my pattern pieces, the front and the back kind of mimic each other. So I've just decided that I will just use the front pattern piece, which gives me the front and the back. Notice the line of the fabric that we joined. So you can see it, but with the movement of the dress, it kind of becomes invisible. If you wanted to make a cami or the midi version of the dress, those are the 2 points that you will be cutting. So we will cut out 4 pieces for the pocket. We will need 2 pieces for the neckline binding, and we will need 2 pieces for your straps. I forgot to mention that the pattern has pocket notches, so go ahead and just snip those notches so you have a point on where to put your pocket pieces. Once done, place 1 pocket piece with right sides of the fabric facing together, touching the notches. It's so hard to see with Ankara fabric which side is the right side. So just pay attention to that and see which sides are the right sides and attach them in the right way. So do that for each side of your dress. Notice that my dress is still folded, but the top piece is one piece and the bottom piece is another piece. So I'm just putting the other piece of the pocket on the other side of the dress. Once that's done, I just like to take the remaining piece and put it with the matching piece that we just pinned and just pin it on. It doesn't have to be pinned all the way, just pin it on so I know that that's the partner. Once that's done, you can go ahead and sew your pockets down. Go ahead and finish cutting out your other pieces. That is your straps and your V-neck bias binding. This can all be done while you're cutting out your pocket. I just needed to show you how to place the pocket, and so that's why I had that video clip before this. Once done cutting, these are the pieces that you should have. You should have 2 pieces for your straps, and you should have 2 pieces for your V-neck binding. If you'd like the belt option, you can go ahead and cut that out. It is not available on the pattern, but it is so easy to do. Just cut a long piece of fabric and you should be good to go. To prep our straps, you first want to press them out so that they're nice and flat and stretched out. You then want to fold your fabric in half and then go ahead and press that down. Your straps should measure 2 to 3 inches on fold. And if you like, or if you feel that these are too wide, you can definitely go ahead and trim the edges just as I am doing. Once trimmed, you can go ahead and fold your straps in again like shown. Press that down so that the folds can stay. This is what your final look of the straps should be. Okay, so now we will be sewing everything down, starting with our pocket and the first piece that we attached to the front of our dress. Once that's done, you can go ahead and attach the second piece to the piece that we just sewed down. And we will start about 1/2 inch past the starting line. Now I don't have pins there, but make sure that your pieces are aligned and evenly together. Now onto the V-neck binding. Now feel free to decide how low or how high you want your V-neck to be. You can simply do this by having the dress at your front and you will see where it falls. Take your neckline binding, fold that in half and mark out about 1 inch down and then draw a V shape like I am doing. You then want to pin going to that center point from the edge, just like I am showing, and you will sew down the points that you have pinned. Now I said about 1 inch, so depending on your V, it could be less, it could be more. Go ahead and sew down those points and make sure that you have a nice V shape. Once that's done, you can go ahead and snip right to the center, but make sure that you don't cut out the parts that you have sewn. If anything, I would suggest that you trim off the excess fabric so you just have a whole V to work with. Go ahead and take your 2 points, touch them together like I am doing, and fold that in half. You can go ahead and press that down so that that fold stays. Once you are done pressing, you will fold in half again the way I am showing. Go ahead and press that down too. Now you will have a bit of bulk in the center. I say go ahead and trim a bit off so you don't have too much bulk and you can work with it on your sewing machine. This is what your V-neck binding should look like. So now you have your straps and you have your V-neck binding. So this is what our pocket should look like after we finish sewing. Later on in the video, I will show you how to attach the other piece of the dress so that you can attach the rest of the pocket, aligning them to the notches on the dress. To attach our V-neck binding, just open the center part and align it with your piece for the V-neck. You can go ahead and pin that down. Now, note that my binding is slightly long. Don't worry about that. If yours is short, yours should be the right size. For some reason, I just decided to add two pieces together, and so that's why these seem longer, but your binding should be the right size. Go ahead and sew down the areas that you pin, and you want to sew close to the edge of the binding, just making sure that you can catch both edges of that binding. Once done, this is what your V-neck should be looking like. You can go ahead and press that down so it's nice and seamless. You can go ahead and attach your front and your back dress pieces, and just make sure that you also attach the other part of the pocket at the notches. You can pin those down, and once you're done, you are ready to sew. Start to sew about an inch and a half down the armhole. Make sure you go past the pocket edge, but make sure that you leave the opening. Go ahead and sew down the rest of the pocket part, and then you can carry on and sew from the pocket to the bottom of the dress. Measure how long you want your straps to be. You can start from your mid shoulder to about the point where the full body of the dress starts. Once you figure that out, you can transfer that length to the center fold of your straps. So mine was about 4 or 5 inches, and so that was the marking that I have. Place a pin on each side of your straps, and what we will do is just sew the edge to close that part of the straps. So we are sewing one point that is pinned to the other point that is pinned, and that will give you, or for me, a total of 8 inches long. Once that's done, we will be attaching our straps onto the dress. So go ahead and attach the end of the V-neck, trim the excess fabric that you have. So the end of the V-neck onto an end point where you sewed down. Sandwich the rest of the armhole into your straps and pin that down. You can go ahead and do that for the other part of the dress. Make sure that your strap is not twisted so that you can have a nice, even, flat strap finish. And this is what the strap should look like pinned. Go ahead and sew down the pinned area. Once done, this is what your finished straps should look like. Go ahead and finish that 1/2 inch or 1 inch seam at the top that was open. If you have a serger, you can go ahead and serge all around the areas that I am pointing at to finish your dress. You can also go ahead and hem the bottom of your dress. If your dress is too long, you can adjust it, you can trim it. So go ahead and do all of that. You can go ahead and also press the dress to just help finish off and have a clean finish. If you opted for a belt, you can go ahead and take your fabric, fold it in half, press that down, and just fold the edges probably by 1/2 inch or 1 inch, and then you can sew that down. And this is the finished look. And for a fall look, you can definitely add a jacket or a sweater and it will still look cute. So that is the end of the sew along. I am excited to see all your makes. Please be sure to tag me if you are on social media. I will give my social handles in the description box, or that information should be in the pattern instructions. So yes, please be sure to tag me. If you're not on social media, that's okay. You can send me an email with a picture of what you come up with. If you have any questions, again, feel free to get in touch with me and we can get your questions answered. Thank you once again, and I hope you have an amazing day.